Hello, and welcome to the Fire Mountain Gems and Beads Jewelry Making Studio. Today I want to show you how to do odd count peyote. Now this is a very important stitch for seed beaders. Anytime you want to do a design that is symmetrical from right to left, that comes to a point, or that just has these chevron types of shapes, that's a very important stitch to have. And a lot of people are intimidated by it. Don't be intimidated. We're going to show you how.
Get our email newsletter for beading news, sale announcements, new product announcements, and more. Link is in the description below.
Okay, so it's odd count peyote, so I'm starting with an odd number of beads. I have 9 size 8 delicas here, and just like any other peyote, we're going to start the same way. I pick up a bead, I skip the first bead and go through the second bead. And that's going to form sort of a T shape here on the end of my stitching. And in fact, as we keep going, it's going to look more like a zipper. So again, pick up a bead, skip a bead, and go through the next bead. We're going to do that all the way down. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, and go through a bead. I'm using these nice number 8 delicas because it's easy for you to see. I will pick up a bead, skip a bead, go through a bead, pick up a bead. Uh-oh, now we've got a problem. So you can see we've made this nice little zipper. And at this point, we should be able to skip a bead and go through a bead. But we can't because there's no more beads here. This is when odd count gets a little bit crazy on you because we're going to have to follow some sort of thread path that will get us through these beads and coming back out this same bead going in this direction. So there's a funny little thread path to go. You can go any path you like, but I'm going to show you this one. So to get where I want to go, I'm going to go through this bottom bead, and that will get the beads attached to each other. So that last bead I added now is in place where I want it to be. I've come out this bottom bead coming out this direction. I'm going to go through this diagonal, and I'm going to go through this diagonal. I'm going to do that right now. Through this diagonal and through that diagonal. If I don't get all my threads mixed up with me. There we go. Okay, so now I'm coming out here. I'm going to go right below to this one and through this one here. And then I'm going to come down this one right here. And finally, I'm going to come out this bead right here, going the direction I wanted it to go, which is coming back in toward my pattern. And you can see now we're all set up to do plain old peyote by putting in beads into these down spaces right here. I'm going to turn this over because I like to work from right to left rather than left to right. Turned it over. So you saw what I did? I went from this side. I'm just going to turn it over so I can work this direction. Going this direction. Pick up a bead. You're going to hear this mantra a lot. Skip a bead, go through a bead. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, go through a bead. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, go through a bead. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, go through a bead. Now we're on the even side, so this is not a problem. You can see it's just super easy. We just turn around and go back the other direction. And I am going to flip this over now. so that I can come back this direction again. And it's just like even count peyote, nothing fancy, nothing to worry about, but it does have a fun thing at the end. Here we go. Skip a bead, go through a bead. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, go through a bead. Only one bead, not a whole bunch of them. And if you find your weaving gets loose, like right there, I'm going to pull on that bead right there and tighten it all up again. Here we go. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, go through a bead, pick up a bead, skip a bead, go through a bead. And now we're on that odd count side again, that one that causes problems. So I'm adding a bead. And you can see there's nowhere to go, nowhere to stitch to. Now we could do the same thing I did last time, which was that funny path all the way around and back through and coming back this direction going through this bead. But I found an easier way to do this. Just for you. I will go, instead of doing that funny little path, I'm going to go through this thread bridge. There is a thread right between these two beads. I'm going to go under that little bridge, pull that through, and that gets this bead in position. And I can go back through it right now. No funny path, no weirdnesses or anything. And there I am, going the direction I want to go, heading down this direction to do some more plain old peyote. I'm going to flip this over and I'll show you. Flip it over. And I'm off to the races again. Pick a bead, skip a bead, and go through a bead and all the way down. And we can keep going back and forth until we've made this pattern as long as we want. We can add more pretty stuff and all sorts of fun chevrons and shapes and come to a point at the end. And there you have it. Odd count peyote. It is not so intimidating. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, and thank you so much for joining me. Happy beading!